All right. So, hey, everybody who isn't actually watching, because nobody will be, because I never actually use this channel. Hi, I am here with Prince of Pan. Is that his name? I forget. Hold on one second. So I gotta find the fucking I've actually been drinking a bit, but I also, as cool as that sounds, I also had caffeine. So, like, it's not like I am gonna be like groggy or anything because I want to be more groggy, technically. So first, I'm gonna post this on my page on Facebook, and then on my minds, and then on Twitter. So, and then we will start talking.
Webs where you could just like send it and then have it automatically post to a million sites. I feel like that should be obvious, but every time I try to look and find it, I never have any luck. So I don't know.
You should invent it. You'll be the new Peter Thiel.
Is that really like not been invented? I feel like it has to exist right now. Like there has to be a robot that just does it.
I don't know. I'm kind of being. Did you listen to Peter Thiel on the Rubin Report?
No, I know who he is. No.
Okay, you are kind of robot-y. You say you did or do not know who he is?
I have no idea. I haven't heard of him. No. Wait. Is it? Oh, Thiel Thiel. I've heard of him. I have heard of him.
Yeah, he's the guy who founded PayPal, who was the CEO, founder of PayPal, multi-billionaire, who decided that I think he like sold PayPal or whatever. And then Gawker outed him because he was like a Republican who was a gay guy. And so they outed him. And so he ruined Gawker. He was like, oh, yeah, I think I have a little bit of dirt on you. And let me find more. Okay, Hulk Hogan. Bye. And he is actually a really exceedingly brilliant man when it comes to all sorts of stuff. Like, he's brilliant. Like, he's like mega genius, mega genius. You know, like there's those gay guys where you're like, oh, those people that talk about how gay guys are supposed to be really smart. You're like, I don't know if I see it. Just saying. Well, sometimes you're like, I do see it. You know, like him and like Douglas Murray and stuff. It's like, okay, I'll take it. So yeah, he's great. You should watch him on the Rubin Report. What's up? What's up?
Elon Musk of payment processing.
Oh, no,
he can be the Elon Musk of payment processing.
I suppose he's better than Elon Musk. Elon Musk is like kind of d-bag.
I kind of know. Yeah.
But I don't hate him. I can't, like, why? What's the purpose? What's the purpose in that? So
I can't hate anybody who's like really entertaining or amusing. Like, even if they're kind of like a little bit of the villain. Not that Elon Musk would be like that, but and who kind of shakes things up on the internet. I like the pot shaken, not stirred.
So, I'm live now that I've posted these. I'm live on the channel that no one ever watches because reasons. With Space Pan, who is one of the founders of the currently dormant Gaytriarchy stream, which really just has to do with ultimately the fact that the founders aren't really easily able to make it, and so we're thinking of trying to reschedule a time frame. And actually Katz was saying that we should base it around your actual availability. Like, when do you actually have time available, and then seeing if we can do that.
Because I have a fixed schedule, like work-wise. Anything outside of that, So
You have a what schedule?
my work schedule is completely fixed. Like it never changes. So
Yeah.
anything outside of that, I
Well,
make
you've
work.
never
And
told me
then,
what your fucking work schedule is.
well, no, I do know what it is.
But you've never
Did I
told
tell you
me.
guys?
No,
What do you mean I never told you?
you've never
I'm
told me.
pretty sure I did.
Well, you can tell me again because I don't remember. Hi, Sammy. We have one viewer. What up, girl?
Oh, Sayomi's here. Hi, Sayomi.
Unless
The
she like
infamous.
left and I'm the one viewer. But
Oh, because we
um
weren't talking about gay. That's why she came to hear about the Thotocaust.
um we should tweet.
No, I love it because I saw this drama kind of unfold in semi slow motion because I'm Facebook friends with the guy who started it all, and I remember him posting like a Facebook status like, "Hey, it'd be really funny if we started reporting e-whores to the IRS." LOL. You know, not necessarily that you'd think that anything would come of it, but because of course, you know, that's the one branch of government. I guess it's not really a branch, but that's the one function of government you know they're gonna do, which is, you know, ganking people. Sure enough, like you only have to report a few of them, and then it ends up working. And of course, they're all freaking out over it, and then causing a huger storm because they want to play the victim on social media. So it's kind of like a weird reverse Gamergate, right? It's like Gamergate for whores, for like girl whores. So like how Gamergate was this thing that went viral and it was to the gamers' advantage. Their version is going viral, but the more viral it goes, the more people are realizing, oh my god, this is like bounty hunting. Like, and the funniest part about it, this could have been a thing years ago, right? Thing would have stopped people from starting to do this in like 2012 or 14 or 16,
Starting
right?
to do what?
To report cam whores to the IRS for not paying taxes. You know, so the theory is that No Nut November had something to do with it. You know, we're on day 25 of No Nut November, and everybody freaks out. Screw these whores. It's such a cartoon. Like I can't wait for South Park to make an episode about this because you know it's gonna happen.
Yeah, they probably will.
They're working on it right now as we speak. It's gonna be magnificent.
It would be good. It would be good. Yeah. You know, I cannot say that I feel the least bit bad for these people, and the reason why is because like, have you ever like known that many sex workers? Because I've known a lot of them. I mean, like well over 100 probably.
No, I really haven't actually. I've only seen like that they have these online personas. I know that like Anna Cherry, associated with the Honey Badgers, like she like that's kind of her thing. She's
Yeah.
like the only one that I feel bad for because she's like really smart.
Were you
So,
there when we had that one guest, the guy Logan McCree?
yes, I think so.
You don't remember the time that we had the porn star on Gay Cherokee?
Wait, no, I don't think I was there for that one.
Okay. No, but he was actually cool, and he found the general attitude of the gay scene. I mean, in particular, like the gay club fetish scene, rather distasteful and nihilistic and self-destructive and stuff, which is like true, you know. He was also always like kind of attracted to women. Like he had fooled around with girls before. I think he was like 17 or 19 or so. So, you know, he's not like me where, you know, like if I had sex with a woman, I would feel like I was raping Tori Amos. Like that's how I am. You know, he's different. So he ended up retiring from being a sex worker and from being a practicing homosexual. He got a girlfriend and wants to like sort of like start a family or something. And the gay scene kind of like turned on him and everything. So he's like a bit of an exception to everything. But and there's a number of sex worker people who have complicated circumstances who are actually pretty cool and everything. And if you meet the good ones, um, they will admit that like it should be a temporary thing. It's not preferable. It's not something to like be proud of, you know, especially if you're like, well, no. Even if you're not gay, you don't need people's things shoved in your orifices. Like you, it's not like actually a thing that you need, you know, like it's just not. But at the same time, there are some people that for complicated circumstances it ends up becoming a thing for them to do at least temporarily. But the dramatic majority of sex workers are like psycho, and not only are they psycho, but they're like start being like weird and elitist, and they're really fake. Like they're really good at just being completely two-faced, like almost all of them. And that's, you know, occupational hazard, right? You know, and but then they also think that they're better than people in this weird way, and they think that if you're like people who aren't a sex worker aren't family, and they think that everybody else is like squares, and that the people that are their johns are beneath them. It's like this weird mentality, and then a number of them get very SJW about being a sex worker. And I I know that there's it's not okay. Logan was saying, and this is something I noticed too, is that there's definitely a tendency for sex workers to be feminists after they're sex workers. But what I don't know for sure is whether or not there's a whole lot of feminists who are active sex workers. I suspect that there are. And or at least in that weird fake, really shallow feminist kind of way where they just kind of hate men, you know, and like that's what feminism is to them, because I mean ultimately that's what feminism really is. And they don't mind using men because that's what feminism really is, you know. And
Well, like a moral veneer and like a nice flavor to it, so it kind of lets them take it out into the open. Like whereas like generally being really selfish and self-centered is seen as like a bad thing. Well, once you're a feminist, particularly if you're a feminist woman, you know, now your selfishness and your, you know, like being really just, I don't want to say degenerate, but you know, being really self-serving and really degenerate and really indulgent in everything.
Being parasitic.
Yeah, and absolutely, right? Feminism is Marxism in panties, and that's a huge part of the reason. You know, generally, we're kind of just assuming that all cam whores are like left aligned.
No, but see, here's the thing: it's even well, okay. Maybe this is a fair metaphor for Marxism in panties, but it's like Marxism in panties that also refuses to ever do any work.
Right. And this was the thing too. So the guy who had started it, you know, what he always likes to really cause shit and like kind of get under the skin by being like, hey, is sex work real work? Is it real work, right? And of course, all these sex workers who, if they identify as that, they're going to say, of course, this is where I work so hard, you know? And then the follow-up to that is, okay, you should be paying taxes then, you know?
Yeah. No, and like, oh my God, I've met some of the most crappy gay guys I've ever met were sex workers. Like, to the point where I thought that they were cool at first, and it turned out that they were just really good at pretending to be semi-decent people, and then they systematically fucked over everybody that I knew in common with them. And then it turned out that they also fucked over their longtime boyfriend who was a sex worker and was like constantly manipulating him. I'm thinking of this one guy in particular. And then he turned out to be this like weird communist psychopath who like got in an argument with me and was like saying just awful stuff to me on the internet, trying to judge me as if he really knew anything about me, which he actually didn't. And he was like trying to say, he literally said, we don't want free speech. We want to feel safe or something. And I'm like, aren't you like a fucking hooker? Like
And that's like a funny paradox too, because you would think that among sex workers and in that whole industry, it would be extreme libertarian, right? It's it's everything that libertarianism loves versus the rest of the right hating, like libertarians are very much pro, like, yeah, if you want to do that, you want to do that. But of course, the default to that is, but you would also take responsibility for the consequences. And I think that's where a lot of this SJWism, feminism, and liberalism all have in common and all kind of come to fill that void where, people go into sex work, and a lot of them, probably go into it not really understanding the implications of it. And, very often because they've had some sort of abuse or some sort of bad past, right? So it's kind of, in that way, I feel really bad, right? Because it's like they don't know what they're getting themselves into. And then they kind of sold one thing, which is this very libertarian idea of, oh, you should be free, this sex positive thing. And then it's not until much later that they start to realize that there's other consequences to it that they weren't really aware of. And then they're kind of in a trap where they either.
Oh, hey, I have no idea why I fell
Yeah, I don't know.
out.
And what did you cut out? Did you hear that at all, or?
You said that people don't understand the implications of something.
Yeah, of just doing sex work. And I think that they'd kind of have to be in that culture for a while to start to realize that. So it's kind of a bait and switch, right? There's this very like libertarian kind of bait where it's all, very pro freedom and it's all cool, it's all fun, you're getting a lot of money. And then once the consequences are catching up with them, that's where you
They're like, oh, I'm oppressed.
well, and also like they shouldn't take responsibility. I wonder if I'm still alive because it's the same call. I wonder how that actually works. But basically, it gives them an outlet for foregoing all of the responsibility after the fact.
Wait,
so
explain to me how that works for foregoing all of their is it because of the oppression thing, because they get to claim oppression, because that's really the operative motive of how SJW culture infects sex workers. They feel as if they're oppressed minority, and I know that because I know them.
Right. Well, and I mean, because that culture is so shut off and so different from a regular person's experience. And I can understand that it's probably not super relatable, because if you have a job, like if you go to it and like your friends also have jobs, your jobs can be very, very different. But ultimately, you kind of have this similar, 40-hour work week, weekends, evenings, And then whereas with the sex work thing, it's not as much like, oh, you go to your job and then later you're not at your job, Or particularly if they're in like escorts and stuff. I think they need like a much more flexible kind of schedule.
The majority of them are escorts.
Right, exactly. So
there's not that many of them that only do porn and only are strippers. I mean, they certainly exist. They certainly, I mean, I guess I would probably say that there's probably a fair amount that are only strippers. But once you're getting fucked on camera for money, it's like, well, why not let some other person fuck me for an hour for money? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, no. And well, and then also I think another dimension of it is that sex is kind of seen as a very spiritual, sort of transcendental thing. It's kind of this like ultimate expression of love is what it's supposed to be. And then I think that when you're somebody who's doing it professionally, it's really easy to then start to think, oh, I'm an expert in this supreme manifestation of love, right? So rather than, it gets more appealing to look at it as like, I'm an expert in this awesome thing rather than I'm just kind of trivializing this awesome thing, So I think that's part of the disconnect as well. It's not, on one level, it's kind of like they have like a weird sort of job that puts them like off schedule and in like a weird sort of dimension. But then also there's kind of this more like mental or spiritual aspect to it, where they're also disconnected in that way, because so many
Yeah,
people's like
yeah.
culture like around sex, you know?
No, it's true. Yeah, one of my ex-boyfriends talk because okay, so like one of my ex-boyfriends had been boyfriends with a mutual, like I met him through his ex-boyfriend, who I'm good friends with, and his ex-boyfriend is a sex worker, and uh his ex-boyfriend is very, very handsome, very, very big dick. He's, you know, probably like over 6'6" or maybe like 6'5", 6'6", and and easy too. Like I could have easily had sex with him. I'm sure. You know, I will. No, I'm not even. Oh, I think that my food is here. Hold on 1 second.
One person who I always plug her is Crystal Garcia. She made a really interesting video explicating her anti-BDSM position, because she used to do sex work. And that's a part of the conversation that really gets missed. When I was in college, I remember we had a speaker come who was like a sex positive sort of speaker. And it had never occurred to me until much later that they never, did anything with like a sex negative speaker coming. And at the time, I probably would have just equated that with like Christian conservatism. And I think that's kind of the. Are you back? Oh, it sounds like you're back. I was just talking to kind of fill them.
Spaceman, I'll be back in a second. I have to put the food in the oven to like stay warm. Okay.
That's cool. I'm just gonna keep talking at the people so that there's not silence on the stream. But yeah, it's actually really, really fascinating, and I think that there's a lot to be gained from really entertaining the sex negative position, because you get confronted with the sex positive position everywhere, like no matter where you are. So that's kind of all been stated and is already out there. It's kind of the dominant perspective. So seeking out that kind of more rare perspective, I think there's a lot more to be gained. But yeah, that's Crystal Garcia, Crystal with a K. She used to be on the Honey Badgers a lot, and then she decided to do her own thing like a few years ago, and has her own humble channel where she talks about her own views. But she focuses explicitly on BDSM, but there's kind of a lot of overlap there. That's another thing too. I wonder how much of this Thotocaust is going to be spilling over like explicitly into like BDSM workers, like professional doms and stuff. I imagine that with them, everything's a lot more above board and a lot more official, because they're really, they have this whole culture like about safety that it seems like a lot of them take very seriously. So I imagine that there's probably a degree to which that extends into like wanting to pay your taxes. There's kind of a measurement too. Like the interesting thing about the Thotocaust is that the ones who are like left wing and honest about taxation and everything, really they should be happily like reporting and paying all their taxes, right? So it's really just going to be revealing how many of them are just bullshit. Like I'd kind of feel bad for like if you're like an ANCAP stripper who doesn't report your taxes, like at least you're not like a total hypocrite, like I wouldn't really fault them so much for like finding a way to, I guess, escape the system. But at the same time, it's nobody really gets to escape. And I think that the more people who are able to just like live lives and escape the system without, acknowledging that openly and without speaking out against it, the more it's just going to be perpetuated. So that's why the Thotocaust, on its face, is kind of a silly thing, but there's really a lot behind it that I think is really extremely beneficial. So I'm very optimistic and excited about it. Maybe we'll have this second generation awakening of, fiscal conservative libertarianism, and it's going to be a bunch of whores. As soon as the consequences were brought to them, they'll be the loudest voices in favor of it. That's a little bit optimistic, I guess. I don't know. We'll see what happens. All right, great. I was just rambling a little bit about sex negative perspectives. Crystal Garcia, she's someone who I'd love to have on like Gaytriarchy. It'd be really fun to have her talk in there specifically about the anti-BDSM position, because it's really fascinating and she has a lot of experience in it.
I'm not anti BDSM. Like that was like a triple negative. I've never been into it. I think that people obviously should be allowed to do it, but I am certainly not gonna like endorse it.
Yeah, well, and I think there's a lot of like it's a really interesting position, and I think that I'm generally like if I had to choose one or the other, I'm probably closer to the anti-BDSM camp. Crystal Garcia, though, she
Yeah,
seems that
I'm probably am too. I'm very actually vanilla when it comes to like sex. To me is hot when I am attracted to someone and we are doing things that are not like non-pleasurable by objective standards. Dude, you got me, you know? Like the closest thing to like kink I've ever done, which is like totally, which is like actually vanilla in San Francisco, is piss.
oh yeah.
Like you go you go to San Francisco and like some you tell someone that you do piss and you're like, duh, you're gay, right? So
Yeah, to me that's a little bit that's not something that I'd do. I guess never say never, never say never. But
if you run out of hot water in the shower,
I mean, I
no,
guess if you're already in a shower.
no, you only do it. It's not like you're like doing it on your bed. You don't have to like.
Is it
You
strictly a
don't.
shower thing? Is that how it works? I mean, I guess I've never really thought through the logistics.
Well, I mean, it's not. I mean, I don't fucking know, but for me, it is. Like
My
you
favorite
know.
thing is like if you try to buy like synthetic urine, like head shops will sell it, right? So people can use it to like cheat piss tests. Which like I guess that doesn't even work, but like anyway, they have all these signs around it being like, this is strictly for sexual fetish play. Don't ask us any questions about it. Just defer to this sign. This is synthetic urine. Like,
Yeah. No, it's just nice because it's like warm and it's and because it like it's like give no fucks kind of a like I've given and received. It's actually it's pleasurable.
huh, well, there you go. That's noted. But yeah, I mean, I can kind of see that perspective of like if you kind of come into an experience with a bunch of like boundaries and things that like it's not as free as just kind of like letting things go where they go or whatever. But
I was very high. Like I don't even remember the first time I actually tried it. Like I don't remember who I did it with. I think no, I remember pissing on this guy who was really cute, I think, for the first time, but I don't remember like who I let piss on me for the first time. It might have been him, but I was always very high. I can assure. I can say that much. I think I was always high when I was having sex back then. But yeah, and then I was like, oh, I can see why people like this. I'm not, I don't think I'm ready to have it go in my mouth, you know. But
baby steps.
yeah, and I'll do rimming, but like, yeah, there's tangible reasons why that's enjoyable. Like,
Yeah, that's almost vanilla in gay. That's
yeah, yeah. Well, it's a great way to get the anus to relax, you know.
I love that little cartoon where there's like a cartoon pussy on the phone and it's like, where are you? And then it's like the tongue is like hugging a butthole and they would have happy smiling faces.
Hmm.
I guess you gotta see it. You gotta see it.
Yeah, I'm not. I mean,
It's very cute.
I don't entirely follow. So okay, so
I actually got to get going because
oh my god,
I have
really?
class in a little bit. I don't need anybody walking into these kinds of conversations.
How you have to like immediately get going?
Yeah, the class starts in 9 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So well that's fine. My food came anyway. I can cry myself to sleep with some food or something.
But I'm sure that this is going to be an ongoing conversation because it really really exploded like overnight, and then over the next night continued to explode. It's been like a really funny ongoing drama.
Yeah. Yeah, so we'll talk about starting gatriarchy. Wait, here, let's just go offline. Hold on. And I'll say it real quick. Okay.